everyone.
Welcome.
To, Today have a very special guest, Muhammad Asif from UK. He is a civil servant in UK, and let's move to Muhammad Asif Mahmud and know about him. Sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Salam. Thank you for inviting me on this uh, having an interview. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
I want to know about yourself. Can you please tell me about little bit and your background?
Sorry, I think it just froze.
No, I listen. I am. Your voice is coming. It's okay. You just speak. Do you listen my voice?
Yeah, but repeat your question, please.
I just want that you introduce yourself for our audience.
Okay. My name is Asif Mahmud. I am 54 years old. I was born in the UK of Pakistani heritage, and I've had a long career in the civil service, and I'm still working there for my sins. And I've been a community activist as well for many decades, human rights activist as well. And I'm a family man. I have two daughters and an extensive family back
Okay,
home in Pakistan and in the UK.
okay, that's good. So, my audience are interesting. What was it like growing in the UK with Pakistani heritage?
Oh, $1 million question there. Um, Obviously, back I was born in 1971, and my father came here when several years before that. Um, it was as a child, you don't fully grasp um, your whole environment around you. Obviously, we were a minority, we were immigrants. I was a child of an immigrant, and we had quite a tough upbringing. It was tough environment back in the 70s. It was a tough environment. A lot of people were poor, working with working class family, but working class um, kind of heritage, and it was tough. The days were long for you. Obviously, used to see my father used to work in the factory, long days, long shifts, and but there were different times in the 70s, and I would remember. I mean, fond memories of my childhood. Um, we were minority in school, in the primary school, in high school, etc. But on the whole, it was a positive experience overall. And given my Pakistani heritage, I thought I was, and I've always felt this, that I'm in what I would describe as a privileged position because I have dual
Mm,
culture, dual identity, Pakistani heritage through my parents, and then I have my culture being born and bred in the UK as well. So I see myself as a dual cultural person or dual identity at the very least. That's always how I've always
o-
seen myself, and I've always been very comfortable in my own skin.
Okay. So, according to your perspective, I want to know, uh, have there been movements where your dual culture background has shaped your perspective in life?
Yes, I think it in a positive way. It's benefited me. I'm able to see kind of see both sides, bring in the positives from different culture to different cultures, and adapt and incorporate the positives from both cultures into one, my own identity. So it's always been something I've been prided myself on it, that I've been able to adapt and incorporate both cultures. So it's always been helpful in a social level, at a work level. It's always I've always benefited from that, having that privilege or advantage.
Okay. So was working in a government was working in a government always part of your plan, or did you find your way there unexpectedly?
It's a mixture of both, actually. Um, like a lot of people, it I had some family influence. A number of my family members had worked in the public sector, and I kind of stumbled into the public sector when I left university and found a stopgap job, and I thought it was temporary, and it ended up being permanent. So I've spent the whole of my working career in the public sector, and I think I was always destined to work in the public sector. I always found the public sector to be a positive experience. It's many more opportunities. It's developmental, and obviously there's always the security element that you have a secure job, and you work with a diverse range of people, and I've seen it as a positive experience and positive uh, in my development.
Okay, that's good. So do you feel your background bring a unique perspective to your work?
The type of work I do, I don't want to go too much into the type of work I do. It's just a bit of a sensitive subject, given the fact that I work in the
Okay.
public sector as a civil servant. But as a general kind of comment on that, it's because I understand how cultural differences, um, that helps me understand and help other colleagues who maybe are not familiar with other cultures, of how they, let's just say, how they adapt and set up their financial arrangements. Different cultures bring in different perspectives. So, given UK is a multicultural society, so we deal with all kinds of people from all walks of life. So, my
Mhm.
cultural kind of experience has helped uh, me understand the kind of work I do better, and more importantly, pass that on to other colleagues who are not familiar with cultural practices or cultural norms, which may
Yes.
be alien to them, but it's something which I'm familiar with. So it has helped myself, but more importantly, I think other colleagues that I've worked with over the years.
Okay, that's good. So what skill do you think are most important for success in your society in UK in
I
present
think
scenario?
I think my view would be, I think fundamentally having a good sound education is fundamental. That's not to say that you can't be successful without some sort of academic career, academic foundation. But I think it's more than helpful to have some sort of academic foundation which gives you the understanding of basic concepts and the potential to understand more. I think that's what an academic kind of foundation gives you. And then ultimately, once you get into a working career, whether that's in a working career or in a business, you become a business person. But it's
Mhm.
understanding how things work, having a basic understanding of mathematics, of e-commerce, things like that. If you got some sort of understanding of those basic concepts, and then you can
Yes.
develop those concepts in your working career.
Okay, that's good. Presently, I observe that every jobs have changing, especially with the arrival of AI. What impact is in your culture or your job with eh, as you know that different chatbot or different AI models are replacing human jobs. So, what you think that is this department is replaceable with different chatbots, or still human needs to process all these activities?
I think you you're if you have face to face, ignoring AI for the time being, for the just for the moment, You work with people, you develop your social skills, your interpersonal skills, and your language skills, your writing skills by actually having interaction with human beings, fellow human beings. Now,
Exactly.
with the advent of artificial intelligence, which is now being slowly rolled out into public sector as well, I think we're in the early days of artificial intelligence. It has its benefits. It is primarily a good idea, good concept of artificial intelligence to make things much more efficient, smoother, less mistakes. But I think we're not there yet. Artificial intelligence is relatively in its early days, but it's moving at an exponential rate. I appreciate that. And ultimately, if I was to say, I think artificial intelligence will ultimately replace a lot of jobs. I think
Ex-
there's of which I think there is no doubt it will replace a lot of jobs, but then there will be scope for it will create other jobs for human beings to do at the same time. What those are, some people who are better placed than me, who understand the AI better than myself, and how this kind of social economic revolution or evolution, what the
mhm.
long term impact is, will be interesting. But I think these questions are being asked at the highest level, in academia, of how things are changing, how will it affect society or human behavior ultimately. It's
Exactly.
good. Human behavior. As a quick example, for example, when you're reading a book, now if you read a paperback book, you certain uh, uh, human traits of how you read a book, how you make a mental note of certain things. You may leave a bookmark on whilst you're reading a paperback book, so you will revisit that section or that part of the book you wanted to revisit, to review or analyze. But if you have now, we have things like which we've had for many decades now, a Kindle. A Kindle you can read the same books on an
Yes.
iPad or Kindle. However, I think some studies have suggested, have shown quite clearly that your methods of reading changes. So you won't necessarily, they've noticed that you don't revisit. You may leave a bookmark, even in Kindle, you can leave a bookmark. But
Yeah, exactly.
I think people are, given the studies they've done and the patterns of behavior, people are less likely to revisit those bookmarks. But whereas in the past, where you were reading a paperback, you would, because you've made a kind of a physical mark on the book with a yellow post-it or something, or you folded the book page over, and people are more likely to revisit that part of the book. So these are kind of changes and behavioral changes in people and how we do certain things. And reading is just a basic thing for humans, but it's just that, even that's changing of how we read, how we write things. Because if you are using computers, you're using iPads, and your computer is effectively going to be writing these letters in the
Mhm.
future. So
Yes.
your human beings' writing skills will change. Will they worsen? Will they improve? That's debatable. Language, I think, ultimately will. I think language will change. Language
Ex-
evolves, and I think with AI, language will certainly evolve. And because your AI, your computer is doing most of the talking for you, or in
exactly.
writing. So how language even changes, time will tell. But I think it's fair to say it will change dramatically.
Exactly, but it's a shift between our old generation and new generation. As you know that when we are back to 60 or 80s, the peoples who read books and newspaper, but in present scenario, no one read book in by going to library or read a newspaper. Everyone use mobile phone and laptop to inform or up to date knowledge, to get up to date knowledge. Okay, now let's move to next question. Looking back, what's a career moment or personal achievement you are especially proud of?
I think from a work experience, Uh, no, less of a work experience. I've done okay in my working life.
No, no,
I think more
I'm not talking about you working as a whole, your life.
personal achievements. Personal
Yeah.
achievements. I think with me, I think I've been quite active, community wise. What you might call a social justice warrior, a human rights
uh,
activist. So
that's
I'm
good.
deeply into politics. Always have been. It's ingrained in my. It's in part of my DNA, and so over the years, I've helped set up a charity where we built a school in Pakistan. I think that's one of my personal achievements which I'm proud of. That was because of the earthquake in Pakistan in 2005, and then subsequently, me and a few friends of ours, we set up a charity and raised a lot of money to help build a school which had been destroyed in in Kashmir. So as a
Okay.
personal achievement goes, I'm very proud of that. It was hard work, a learning experience. It's something I'd never done before. I didn't know the first thing about raising money or even how we go about building a school. I must say it took a lot of effort, but I mean, talking to a lot of people, liaising with a lot of people, trying to work out how we do it, and eventually it was a mission accomplished. And we're very proud of it. Me and my friends are very proud of it in the school. I think that was built in 2007, and the school is still going now.
That's good. This is a continuous process. Students study there, and ultimately you get ajr as go yes the school goes. Okay, let's move to next question. Uh, what do you hope people take advantages by using AI? What behavior you observe in present generation and the old generation by using the laptop or mobile phone or like AI chatbots?
I think it's a major change for people. You can one of the key advantages for what I see by AI is if you have an issue, if you have a challenging situation or a question that you need answering, so you can ask AI, and AI will give you a fairly good idea what the answer should be, and it'll give you the kind of pros and cons as well, and it will kind of detail in a methodological in some sort of methodology it uses, but it kind of gives you an overall brief explanation, then it gives you the pros and cons, and then it gives you further insight into where else you can search for information about this, or if you want more information. I think as a tool, it's a tool. Ultimately, AI is a tool for human beings to use to become more knowledgeable, more efficient. That's but how it should be used. But there obviously are pitfalls about AI. Like I said earlier, it's early days. But I think once we've kind of mastered it, the big tech companies have mastered it, I think it will change society dramatically, change our lives on a day to day basis, which we cannot imagine. It'll be beyond our comprehension. If somebody asks me, how do you see the world in 20 years? I really have no idea, because it's going to dramatically change our lives in such a way. For example, like booking it, you travel, you're booking a train, you book a hotel. I mean, AI will be able to do this without you even telling you to do so, because it will have an idea of your itinerary, your diary already, and it will already know that you will need to go on such a date to such a place, and it will be predetermined for you. And I
Exactly.
just don't, it's beyond my comprehension how it's going to change everything. But I would
Okay,
imagine it's
but
going to change it for the better.
you don't think that if I ask a question to ChatGPT and if he- do not have some material or data to answer that question, so he itself generate the question and create a data and ask the question. If you check it and he give a reference according to his database that he generated it or it generated it, ChatGPT itself. So it is a very confusing state when people don't know what is the correct knowledge or correct information. Is it a correct or something or some other chat bot model create that knowledge and give me a proof that this is a correct knowledge?
Yeah, I think there are issues with it, which I think these are early days. It's an early kind of concept of this AI. I think that you're right to highlight some of these issues but I think you would need to be a bit more discerning. So I think as human beings, we shouldn't be taking it as gospel. We should have enough capacity in us to check, to validate what AI is telling us, because we cannot rely wholly exclusively on AI. But I would imagine, on the whole, if you asked AI some relatively basic questions like, what's the population of Pakistan?" and it will tell you what the Pakistan population is, and it will even go as far as telling you what the trends are in Pakistan demographics, which you would hope, one would assume that that is correct information is giving you. But when you get to more complex issues or where there's more gray areas, as an example, if you asked it to give you a view on the Israel and Palestine conflict, and if you asked it to give you a view on that issue, it will draw on all the data it has, and it will give you a relatively neutral position on the matter, because it's designed in such a way that it's just taking data from everywhere, and there'll be data saying such a thing and data saying something else, and it'll combine it together to give you kind of this neutral position on the matter. So it's up to the person to be more discerning and evaluate the information he's giving, but realizing, given the complexity of that issue, that you need to be more careful and mindful of whether you take it for granted as gospel, or you need to do a bit more research yourself. So it's just a balancing act between the person who's input the information in, person who's receiving, the recipient of the information, and how you interrogate or understand or accept that information. It's going to take time how AI develops, and I think I keep saying the same thing, which is I think it's an evolving situation with AI, evolving.
Yeah, exactly, but I think that in different region have its own data sets. So let's we talk about the UK or Europe, and some data center also present in Japan, and also some data center in China. Every government has manipulate that data. So if want to know about real grounds, then we should move to the third party where they do not have any concern about these issues. They are just neutral and research and give the neutral data that relate with of real fact and figures. So is it possible, because in every nations have some some type of concerns that if I give a real information or real data to everyone, that they become harmful for nation as well as other peoples. So what do you know about that? If every that like a crypto cryptocurrency has some data blocks, blockchains, and everyone see where the coins go, who buy and who sell, and everything is transparent. But when we move to our traditional buy and selling systems, so no one know about how the input go to which sectors, and know about what is the possible outcome. So do you think that yeah, nations agree to neutralize that type of activities?
I think there is an issue here. We need more regulation. We need safeguarding and regulations which ensure that these systems are not being abused or manipulated. But the difficulty there is the big tech companies are really their kind of modus operandi is not to be regulated. So we've currently got some legislation going through European Union where they are trying to regulate AI, because we need some sort of safeguards as a society. Because you're right, different societies, different countries will be able to build in certain biases within those data structures, and we need to have a kind of a means of kind of filtering this whole thing. But it's again, it's a difficult I mean, I'm not a master, I'm not an expert in AI, but I would imagine the kind of legislators across the world are looking into this and trying to work out how we regulate AI to give information which isn't already, let's just say, polluted by certain actors around the world.
Okay, okay. Nice to talk with you. Our audience get too much information, and I again thankful to you for such a beautiful session.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't be too much helpful on AI because I'm not an expert on AI, but I have limited knowledge on AI. But I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to me, and I would encourage people. I would encourage people to look into AI more, research, look into it so that you can be ready for this AI revolution that we're actually facing.